There you go. Noah Berggren here alongside of Laurel Blanchard, who you'll see coming up on the news at 8 in about 35 and a half minutes. Hope you've had a great day today. I'm just going to come on here and give you a little update on the storms. And then Erin, and partly because it's raining pretty good, and yours truly doesn't have an umbrella or a rain jacket with him. So that is number one. All right, I hope you had a great Wednesday so far on the 13th of August already. Things are rocking and rolling as expected. We thought tonight more storms. Seems to be okay. Tomorrow probably less storms. Then Friday we go back to more storms. So Friday will be more like today. Tomorrow will be more like yesterday. But you see on the view across the area tonight, there are some pretty healthy downpours over Orlando and Lake Fairview. So I'm going to go over the storms now. Hello from Winter Haven. Alice, how are you? Going to go over the storms now. Today's the anniversary of Hurricane Charley. Then quickly touch on some Erin stuff and remind you that Laurel is coming up on the news edge at 8. All right, so interestingly tonight we actually have a pretty good sea breeze collision that's about to happen around Orlando. So if you look right now, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of storms. The storms this evening are going to be really in this box, right along I-4 for the next, let's say, 2 hours. So if you're in Ocala, the Space Coast, up to Cocoa Beach, all these areas are fine. If you're in the circled area, that's where there'll be some storms. And I'll zoom in, you can see there's a healthy downpour here over Maitland, Lockhart, and Eatonville with tremendous rain. You see here, look at all the lightning, too. Wow. Look at all this lightning well outside the storm. Over here, over here, over here. These actual bolts of lightning over Azalea Park is miles from the thunderstorm. This one over here on Eastern Winter Park is almost 4 miles away from the actual downpour. In clear air, also a big thunderstorm up in Lake Mary. So in terms of the wind in here, this is what we call a actually, there's a lot going on here. Somewhere in here, there's a downburst, and then also, I'm going to pull this up on the airport radar in a second because there's something interesting that's about to happen here in a few minutes. But you see the loop of the radar, these storms blossoming right essentially from Maitland to Winter Springs. Hello, Joanne. How are you? Thanks for tuning on here on Facebook and YouTube. So let me go to the MCO radar. So as you probably know, we have our own radar here. It's located in, I believe, the zip code. If you mailed it, something would be Bithlow. It's right there. So we have our radar. Then there's the Weather Service radar in Melbourne. And there's also a radar at the airport. It's a lower power, what we call terminal radar. They use it for, obviously, the planes because you wouldn't want to land in a downburst. That's why they have radars at airports in the United States for your safety. But they're lower power, but they're really good at seeing things right close to the radar. So I'll zoom in here. And this is the MCO radar on velocity data. Now, it gets messy. Let me turn off the lightning here. And let me turn off the town labels. And let me loop this for the last, let's do 45 minutes. And I want you to notice there's a lot going on here. In fact, we've got like 3 sea breezes that are about to collide. There's this one over here coming in from the Atlantic. You can see it. It's faint. You kind of got to follow along with me. You see this boundary working east, and there's this one coming south from Lake Mary. So you've got a rain-cooled boundary moving this way here, the Atlantic sea breeze coming in this way, then an outflow boundary from storms near Lakeland earlier, and then an outflow boundary from Leesburg going this way. And they're all going to collide somewhere over 417. Now, last week on Monday, we had a triple sea breeze collision, a little bit more robust than this, but it led to a tornado in the middle of the woods in Osceola County. And it's when you get these multi-sea breeze collisions that funky things can happen. So we'll see these storms as they blow up somewhere probably in the middle of this area here over the next hour or so. You're visiting Orlando from the UK, Michaela. Wow, welcome to Orlando. So here's the live radar right now, and you can see big-time thunderstorms right around the metro. This is the higher power Melbourne radar. And if you look, you can see these thunderstorms are blowing up right over Orlando to Winter Park, up towards Lake Mary. They won't last more than about another hour or so, hour and a half. But again, you've got the Atlantic sea breeze coming in this way, an outflow boundary this way, and then an outflow boundary this way. And you can see Florida weather gives you these subtle little clues as to where it's going next. Often, I will admit, having grew up in Connecticut, people not from Florida often joke, oh, it's the same forecast every day in summer, it rains at 3 o'clock. Yes, but my point of saying that in the joking sense is there actually is a lot more variability. As we all know, living here, to daily storms. Some days they're on one side of the state, they're on the other side of the state, they're at 3 versus 8 o'clock. And when you get these collisions of storms and boundaries, the lightning tells you where the storm is going next. Because look at all these lightning bolts jumping right over here. So this tells you that this is the next spot up for a downpour. Even though the rain is over here, you'll see in a few minutes there'll be a new thunderstorm that pops up in here. So those lightning bolts always give you clues as to what's going to happen next. But thankfully there's nothing severe in here right now. Hello from Connecticut. Hello from Kissimmee. Nicole. Probably going to skip over you. Yeah, I don't think you'll get anything that far south. Let me put this on let me pull up the, nothing in Destin either, so you should be good up there. Now the interesting thing is that I'm looking on the Orlando terminal radar. Let's put this back up. Some of the gusts in Altamont are actually pretty good right now. This is wind blowing north. You see here over Forest City, this is 30, 35, 40 mile an hour winds in here between Altamont and Lockhart, right over Riverside Acres, some decent wind. But again, you've got a three banger sea breeze collision right here. 1, 2, and then 3, all coming this way, and this way, trifecta, which should pop up a whole new area of storms, or just continue it going and grow it east in the next few minutes. I'll keep an eye on that. But for right now, nothing too extreme, but certainly a lot of light. Look at all the lightning, too. Wow, there's lightning far away. Look at this bolt out here. Look at this guy chilling out over here. Look at that bolt right there. Wow, how far that was. You know, when the storm team covered this and we were talking about it, Brooks, just TJ, and myself, back in New Smyrna earlier in the summer, you might remember somebody got killed from lightning. And we covered on air, remember all the graphics about lightning facts and, you know, how often does it strike far away from a storm and this, that, and the other. Well, here's example 6,500 of lightning does strike more than 2 miles away. In fact, this one is 10 miles from the downpour. So let that be less than 7,000 that it is not rare for lightning to strike that far from a thunderstorm. It actually happens more than you might think. That's pretty wild right there, 10 miles away from the actual downpour, that thunderstorm there. So there's the view right now. You can see pretty cool from the top right. That's Orlando looking north. You can see that downpour. Then a little rainbow. How about that? Nice little rainbow from Lake Fairview right now. So watch these storms for the next little while. By the way, today is the anniversary of Hurricane Charley, which to this day probably is the benchmark Orlando hurricane. Reason being is that it was such an intense hurricane in the Gulf, and it moved. The forward speed was so fast. The actual intensity was still a Cat 1 to 2. It was literally still a Cat 2 over downtown Orlando. So it essentially had this very narrow path of tornado-like winds that, you know, rightfully so, many of us think living in Orlando, you're somewhat protected from the wind from a hurricane, which is correct. But Charley was a prime example as if it's the right type of storm, you can totally get wind destruction, like if you lived on the beach in Orlando and Seminole County and Lake Mary. The pictures of tarps over houses was like every other house along I-4, and it's because it was just a small, narrow, really fast-moving thing that just zipped across the state 21 years ago tonight in a very small eye. In fact, I think the eye was like one of the smallest ever for a landfalling hurricane in Florida. And this is what's also called concentric eye walls, how you see there's one donut and then the outer donut, two separate eye walls, like a little moat in the middle without any rain. And these were the peak wind gusts 21 years ago today from Charley, 173 in Charlotte County miles an hour. Port Charlotte, 132, 96 in Fort Myers. And I believe, I have to confirm this, so I'll give an asterisk to this statement. I think Charley is one of the only storms where MCO had a sustained hurricane force wind, which, not a gust, the sustained winds were, I believe, over 75 miles an hour from Charley, which is really hard to achieve this far inland. So there's the heat index right now. It's obviously hot out there. We'll track that for the next few days. But a quick update on the radar before I go back to the tropical update. So Laurel will track these further for you in the next little while, but you can see what I was talking about, how this storm is growing, and it wouldn't shock me if Wouldn't shock me if briefly one of these got a severe warning in a few minutes, but it would just be for wind. You see that purple there? Right over Castleberry and Longwood. And all the yellow bolts, by the way, those are positive bolts of lightning. That tells you how strong the thunderstorm is. When they're colored yellow, they're from the top of the thunderstorm to the ground. They're brighter, louder, flashier than negative bolts of lightning. Let me turn on that count here. Let's see if we get that. Yeah, so you can Google it or ask AI or ChatGPT or whatever it is you search. The amount of positive bolts from a normal thunderstorm on Earth is like, I think, less than 10%. And this one right now is about 20. So that tells you that it's a very electrically charged thunderstorm that's over Castleberry and Longdale, 21% now. So a lot of these bolts are striking from the tops of the clouds to the ground. They're a lot stronger. They have more energy, and they're a lot more intense. But you see that a lot of that right now over Longdale, Winter Springs, and Castleberry. In fact, let's peek at the velocity data in here. It's kind of hard to make this out from the Melbourne radar because you've got so much going on. Remember, the green is wind towards the radar. So over here, you got something funky, and then over here you've got probably a smidgen of rotation, and this is a downburst, and then there's an outflow bound. There's a lot going on in there. And as Laurel just forwarded, she's going to track this for you more coming up in the news at 8. We'll probably have some good storms in the news. Special weather statement till 8. Essentially, that precludes or precedes what would be a severe thunderstorm warning, and that would be for winds of 40 to 50. That special weather statement, but yeah, on the MCO radar, it is interesting. There's a lot going on in here. See, because you've got wind going this way here toward the radar here. So this is a downburst over Maitland. So right there by the M in Maitland could be some 50-mile-an-hour winds. Right, you see the downburst signature like that. Generally, there's some pretty good wind. Then over here, the wind is going like this. So you've got a whole bunch of different directions of wind and things going on right now. Yeah, which is a pretty cool little thunderstorm to look at the radar on there for sure. Yeah, and on there might even be a touch of, because there's 3 boundaries colliding. If you look right here, see what the algorithm thinks. The algorithm is behind. We've got a product that does the rotation thinking for you, or us. Keep an eye on it. It might be a little broad, spinny in there, but that's what happens when multiple storms collide. Is you get these funnel clouds up aloft. But yeah, tremendous amount of lightning there from downtown right now. Tremendous amount of lightning. All right, so we'll watch that. Let me get you back to the tropical update now, which is interesting. So here is Tropical Storm Erin, which we've been tracking. It has winds of 50 now. It's starting to intensify. You see the white and the pink on the satellite. Remember, this is a colorized satellite, so you're quite literally looking at the temperature of the cloud tops. So the taller they are, the colder they are. The forward motion is slowing down, which is why it's going to start to intensify. It's really hard for a hurricane to get going if it's moving so fast in its early stages. That's number one. Number two, it's heading into warmer water, which is going to help it really get going as well. So here's the track. This is the 5 o'clock advisory from the folks at the Hurricane Center in Miami. And you can see Cat 1 by Friday, Cat 2 by Saturday morning, Cat 3 by Sunday. Let me zoom in the camera here and show you. Now, I know you might look at this and go, what the heck's going on? This is concerning. It's aimed towards Florida. Well, the cone is only 5 days. If the Hurricane Center did a 7-day cone, you'd see it would be going further away from Florida. But remember, the cone tells you where the center could go. In today's European model, I'll show you in a second, is well within the Hurricane Center's cone. It's out over here. It's like that. And the GFS is over in here. Obviously, if the hurricane was over here, you know, it did?
Severe thunderstorm warning being worked up.
Oh, good.
60 mile per hour wind, quarter-size hail.
So we're going to get a severe storm warning here in a second. And Josh says the lightning at a gas station along with lightning at cracks are unreal. Definitely, I believe that. There's a lot of positive lightning from this thunderstorm. But the thing with Erin we're going to have to watch is how close does it come. here's all the models for Erin. Each red line is a different model. None of them have a landfall in Florida, but if the hurricane took the lefternmost camp of outcomes, it could landfall in North Carolina, brush Cape Hatteras. That would mean definitely maybe some squally showers or far outer bands coming into the Space Coast next week. If it was out over the east, big track for Bermuda, big threat to Bermuda, not much, but the most likely thing is somewhere in the middle where we don't get any threat in Florida other than really big surf. So that's obviously something we're going to keep an eye on. So let's go back to the thunderstorms now. You can see that from Orlando looking north, big time thunderstorms, and then again from Lake Fairview with that rainbow off in the bottom left. So let's get back to the radar here. So here we go, 7:40. As expected, this storm is growing, and we now have a severe thunderstorm warning. Let me put the loop of the radar on for you. In the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot going on. It's just right over Orange County, but we've got a triple sea breeze collision, or triple collision. You got the Gulf sea breeze, the Atlantic sea breeze, then a sea breeze from another thunderstorm that's just all colliding. So let me zoom you in and show you. Let me turn off this special weather statement because now that we have a severe warning, it's not useful. So here's the severe thunderstorm warning, which goes for Seminole in northern Orange County until 8:15. Now remember, lightning on its own does not make a thunderstorm severe. 60-mile-an-hour winds or stronger and or quarter-sized hail. That's what makes a storm severe. So there could be 6 bazillion bolts of lightning. Doesn't make a storm severe. So this is a severe storm warning for, again, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Probably in Altamont, Castleberry is where I'd say the core of it is. So let's turn off the lightning. Anywhere you see pink, that's probably the most severe weather. So right over Sherwood Drive, Lake Drive, and Altamont, over by the Altamont Mall, up towards Tangerine Street, East Orange Street, then over towards Castleberry, off of Overbrook Drive. So that's the regular mode of the radar. There's your severe warning. Let's go to the velocity data. Yeah, it is a couple interesting things going on in here, I'll tell you that. In the grand scheme of things, let's put this on a loop. Yeah, this is definitely a downburst that's going on here. So if you look at this loop of the radar, this is the radar from the Orlando International Airport. Green is wind going towards the radar. So right by Eatonville, this is wind going this way. And red is wind going away. So notice how it's diverging. Think of this like nature throwing or somebody up in the atmosphere throwing a water balloon at the ground. Instead of it being water, it's air. It hits the ground and goes in both directions. That's called a downburst. And when the air does that, it can be 60, 65 miles an hour. So somewhere right in the middle is where the damaging wind would be. Right over 414, Altamont. Right in the middle of that signature on radar. Definitely could be some 60-mile-an-hour winds. So let me clear that off. Clear this off. Somewhere in the middle, right over, let's see, Wymore Road, Spring Valley Road, West Maitland Boulevard, Druid Isle Road, Lake Destiny Road. Could be a couple of 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts right where I'm circling, right in between here. So that's where there could be some 60-mile-an-hour gusts, right in that zone. Somewhere in there. Let me look at some of your comments. We're on Facebook and YouTube. Hello, Teresa. How are you? Hi from Hickman, Lisa. Hello, Sheila. How are you? I saw the Euro move west with Erin. Joseph, yes, it did. We were talking about that earlier. We'll talk about it more later. What's up, Matt Sawyer? How are you? How are you, Matt? What's up from Apopka? Just thundered, Linda. Oh, yeah. Josh says we're waiting at a gas station in Longwood. So that's where there could be some 60-mile-an-hour winds in the next few minutes. Let's go back to the radar. And notice, as I was here with Laurel a second ago, we were just talking about this storm's probably going to jump east, which is what it's doing. And again, the lightning is a precursor in Florida. It was one of the first things, shout out Brooke Scar, that one of the first things I learned when I came here is that you could tell where it's going to move by the lightning jumping. And a few minutes ago, all the lightning was over here, and look where the thunderstorm is going. It's moving this way. And you can see it's growing east. It's just kind of slowly moving east. So the lightning count obviously tells you the intensity. If the lightning is going up, there's storm is strengthening. But also where the lightning is tells you where this thing is going to move in the next few minutes. But just a crazy amount of lightning. crazy amount of lightning there right now. Let me stop the radar. See if I can pull up our Lake Mary cameras. I'm sure that is quite the view here. Give me a hot second. Now, Laurel's going to track this further for you coming up in a few minutes on the news. Let me zoom out our camera. It's way zoomed in. So here you go. Let's move this over. Let me pull this up. So there's you can see the thunderstorm clearly in the top right. That's from Orlando. And of course, I want to go grab dinner when I'm done with you, and I don't have an umbrella. So I may be borrowing Laurel's umbrella if she has one, or else I'll be getting drenched. Altamont Springs, right by Fern Park. Maria, yeah, that's probably where the strongest winds are. Maria, right in the middle of it. Yep. Let me pull up our Lake Mary camera. Let me show you that. Let's see, Lake Mary tower camera. Let's pull this up. Tremendous lightning producer. This is I-4. You see here looking off in the bottom right. Let me take this camera full. You don't need to see me. But you need to see the camera here. Look at this camera. Check this out. So this is from Lake Mary, and the camera is facing towards the southwest. What's up, Melody? How are you? Appreciate you watching. Thank you.
Hey, friend, you got me all back there?
Yeah, so we're gonna keep an eye on this for sure. Let's see. This is due south. The thunderstorm. But yeah, this is a good old downpour. Probably more of the lightning over here. This is more towards the southwest now. And leave this camera up for a second, see what we can find out here. Just looking at the radar behind the scenes, the worst of the storm is over Fern Park and Castleberry right now. Which there's so much going on. There probably is. It wouldn't shock me if there was a funnel cloud mixed in there. Probably over Castleberry, but you wouldn't see it even if you're in Castleberry. It's raining so hard. There's just so many collisions of rain-cooled boundaries happening right now that it's all just colliding over the same area. But yeah, we'll leave this camera up for another second. You can see some of the lightning there. It's been wild, the lightning on this camera. There you go. There's some more of it. And you can see it also from the bottom, beneath me, right beneath me here. This is the camera from downtown that's looking off to the northeast. You can see that clearly tremendous downpour. Then to the left, there's not much. Yeah, so this is going to be it for the storms tonight. Is right around the I-4 through about 9 o'clock or so, 9:30. Then things will tame on down. But I'll give you one more view of the radar, and then I'm going to hop on off to let Laurel get ready for the news here. But there's our Lake Mary camera. So heads up, if you're just joining us on YouTube and Facebook, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:15 for southern Seminole County in northern Orange County. And remember that severe thunderstorm warning is issued for 60-mile-an-hour winds and or a quarter-sized hail, which I'll turn off the lightning, which there's just a lot of lightning. Anywhere you see the pink is probably where the 60-mile-an-hour gusts or the hail could be. Castleberry, Fern Park, Altamont. But we come over to our MCO radar, and yeah, there still is a downburst signature here. The wind is blowing like this, and then like this. So somewhere in Fern Park in southern Altamont Springs, that's where the air is rushing down and then out from the thunderstorm. And that's where there can be damaging wind gusts and some trees down. It's right in where I'm circling. Right there. Because the wind is blowing like this up here, and then this way here. So this is not rotation. Even though we always tell you red and green next to each other is rotation. It's, you got to remember which way the radar is. So in this case, this is a diverging wind signal there over Altamont and Fern Park. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there's clearly, look at all the lightning. I mean, this is the last 15 minutes. There's 300 bolts of lightning right now over Altamont to Castleberry and to Maitland. So this storm is nearly stationary. It's only drifting slightly to the east. We'll keep an eye on it. Might make it a little bit more towards Wekiva Springs. It might drift a little bit more into the Oviedo area, but after about maybe another half hour, it should rain itself out. But nevertheless, quite the electric thunderstorm with maybe some damaging winds in here right now. And thankfully, the rotation tracker is not picking up much. Maybe a little bit of hail. Let's turn off the lightning and look at the radar saying, yeah, maybe some hail in Fern Park, north by the Altamont Mall, right where you see that pink. That's probably the strongest wind and hail corridor right now. So we will keep an eye on that. I will let you guys go. Laurel Blanchard, meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, is coming up on the News Edge at 8. You can watch that on your phone and on Fox Local. She'll track this for you more, and also have an update on Hurricane Erin. So be safe out there around Maitland, Castleberry, Winter Springs. This should be the real only big storm of the night. There's not going to be anything else in the grand scheme of things save for this storm and boundary collision right over Seminole in Orange County. So have a good rest of your night. I'll see you later on the News Edge at 10 and 11, and Laurel's coming up for you here in a few minutes on the News Edge at 8. She's tracking this storm for you more on Fox Local. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you later. Be safe out there.